Well, thank you very much, Marcia. Thank you for having me tonight on your program. It's always a blessing to listen to you and to hear you expound on all these issues that are happening in the Caribbean and finding solutions, not only just talking, but trying to find solutions so that our people could be a better at the end of the day. There's a lot of rain in St. Vincent right now. We're expected to get a lot of rain tonight. I call the electrical grid that we have here has become a very dry weather grid since Hurricane Beryl. So if you see me drop out at any time, it'll be because that electricity has gone off.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it says it's something that I keep talking about, and I haven't got any response from the electrical company up to now as to why when what you call what some just other people in the Caribbean, just some wind blow and the electricity is out since
Gone,
burial,
yeah.
since
Yeah.
burial. So that's been a problem. But anyway, I'm happy to be on. I see you telling people must go look for me. I don't want nobody to looking for me because I prefer to stay in the background and, and
Really,
hide away. I,
really, really,
yeah,
and really, and you're talking about all kinds of things tonight. Tonight we're gonna touch on
yeah.
so many. I have you only for 1 hour, so get ready because I know you got to get off. You have to be off by 9 o'clock. So
Yes,
we're going to hit some things because a lot of things have happened, even in Trinidad with Rowley and so on.
yeah,
I have to ask you. All right, but we came on. You came on in particular, to talk about in particular the global agenda and
yes. That
and its
yeah.
impact on the Caribbean. But before you even start that, Mister Cooke, I saw that you have been in journalism. I think it's over 16 years. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I've been there more than 16 years actually. It's probably close to 22 years or so now. Um, it started since about 1997 around there, I think, with the National Youth Council. That used to be a very vibrant organization in St. Vincent, no longer, but it started there, and they had an FM radio station, and they just wanted me to come because had a conversation with the director. He said, "You belong on radio. You have a voice for the radio. You should come on the radio, man." So I got there, but I never liked to be on any radio, although everybody thought that I should be on radio. I hated radio, period, talking on radio. And I went there, did a couple programs, and then everybody wanted me to come back all the time. I said I wanted to be a technical man. I wanted to put up the antennas. I wanted to learn how to set up the radio station, not be on any air. I have no interest in that. I like to be in the background. That's what I told him. I don't want to be anywhere in the forefront of anything. But they had other things, and then it went on from there. And so I went into a private radio station after that, which was the first country music radio station in St. Vincent.
Mm.
In the Caribbean, actually, was in St. Vincent, but I ended up being the morning show host there. And then after that, I went to the US for some training with the Voice of America, the Washington Post. I did a lot of training with them
Oh, wow.
just after 9/11. I did about 6 months there. So I had radio, I had newspaper, and did UE, did UWI, and then I did marketing, and then I did pharmacy, and I did advertising. I just did a lot of stuff because I said to myself, no matter where I am in the world, I should be able to get a job through doing something.
Yes.
So I did multiple things. I didn't want to stick in one area. But I came back to the media, and I made a blast in St. Vincent. I've been on a morning show for 10 years. I upsetted the prime minister, the opposition leader, everybody I upsetted. And 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 the show made money and endless money according to the owners. And then I got fed up of that. I went to the US, worked for a while there, did a lot of other stuff, and then I came back to St. Vincent, ended up being the public relations officer for the opposition party. Went on radio programs for them, and then I got said, you know what, that politics is no good. I'll leave that alone.
Yes.
And then I went back to the US, came back to St. Vincent, started a newspaper called News 784, and and after that I went on, had to get that closed down because during the pandemic that became a sore point for the government where they thought that the information I was giving to people was against the narrative. And so a lot of people, and so it got into a lot of spam. They attacked it. ripped down my YouTube channel. The newspaper got really messed up. Google said they will de-index it out, so you will not find it anywhere. So
Wow.
I had to start over, and that's how I ended up with St. Vincent Times. I had that domain. I said maybe I should start over again, and I started over. But this paper seemed to have moved way beyond what I had before. So everything that people do as the good Lord, they would say everything that they did for bad came for good. And
Yes.
so and so everything went on from there. But yeah, like you said, I've been in the media for that amount of time, a lot of experience in it and in other fields as well. So yeah, and
Yes.
I
Yes.
had the opportunity to travel the globe really, and still doing so. Went to all the four corners, Taiwan, Europe and South America, North, everywhere, and just did stuff and made some great connections. So
You know,
it has been a good
I
trip.
mean, and listen to your story. I mean, I see the struggle that you've been through, and in carrying the voice of the people, Mr. Cook.
Yeah,
And I just want to commend you for that. You're here in the Caribbean, and you're one of the voices that we can look to. That will bring that alternate view that it's not traditional media, and we know it's going
yeah,
to be professional. You're well researched, and you're giving us something to think about. And often you will say, you're asking questions, go and research,
correct.
but we know we can turn on to St. Vincent Times, and
Yeah,
you're going to come with something that is going to cause us to think. And
yep,
that's the kind of media that we're interested in, and we're very, very happy for what you're doing. Now,
right.
let's get right into our discussion for the
Mhm.
night. Now, people, you hear people talk about this global agenda,
Yeah.
Mr. Cook, and you talk about it on your program. I was watching your programs this week. They send them to me all the time. Barbados, it's all over Barbados,
Yes.
and what is if somebody's listening, what for the first time they're hearing the term global agenda? What are you talking about? What is that?
Um, I had asked myself the same question many, many years ago. I heard it. When I heard it, I said, okay, global agenda. All right. Okay, whatever. And then I start hearing a lot of what people call conspiracy, you know. And then I said, there must be more than just a conspiracy or something. It has to be something. Nobody don't just call a word out of nowhere, except you're the Almighty God, and men are not. So something has to be going on. And then we came to the conclusion, and everybody by now today knows the global agenda is whether it's just a bunch of people, a cabal who deal with finance, politics, the pharmaceutical industry. It's a group of people who really have money and set the the agenda for what takes place really in this world. Whether
Mm-hmm,
you're elected as a prime minister, whether you're elected as a president of a nation, this cabal, what as the people would say, what they call in America the deep state,
mm-hmm,
is a group of people who sit down and plan what is really to take place in different nations, despite you having a government. All right, having a
mm-hmm,
government in St. Vincent. It doesn't matter. Yes, they're elected. Some are selected because you would find people who wish to get into office can never get into office. And then you will find some people who really don't even have the talent for being there, who really can make no sort of serious decision to really effect change, get into office. And you ask yourself, why did they get there? And so
mm-hmm,
you realize right away that they were selected, and they ensure that they are selected by these people all around the world who fund campaigns, and fund the destruction of mankind really to their own benefit, as the people would say. So it's become a simple thing, and a lot of people have understand it now, and that is why, like you keep saying all the time on your program, people are waking up to what's really taking place around them. So the global agenda, in short, is just a group of people who have money, they have great influence, and they set agendas for prime ministers, presidents, what's happening around this globe.
excellent. And you keep you're one of those in the Caribbean. I'm going to call you a watcher, and you watch and you warn. And so you're talking about organizations like
Yes,
the United Nations, the
correct.
World Economic Forum. Would that be
Mhm.
correct?
That's
World,
correct. Absolutely.
World Health Organization, which we're going to talk a bit
Absolutely.
more, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. and
Mm-hmm.
then there's some large multinational corporations.
Corporations. Yes,
Now,
yes.
yeah, there's some agendas. There are particular agendas that they are about. That they present, right? To solve global problems. And what would you say might be some of those agendas?
Well, the last the some of those agendas, and over the years we'll have seen people think that when you hear war, it's
Mm,
because Marcia and I have two countries and we're just hating each other and we just want to drop some bombs on each other. No, 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 no. It's not. It's nothing. It's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. These are things that are designed. So that's part of an agenda. That's part of what
mhm,
they do, right? To
mhm,
design wars among nations, and they make us pick a side, right? So that's
mhm,
how they do it. And they talk about,
mm,
when you heard about apartheid many years ago, apartheid wasn't just because there were blacks and white in South Africa. That was part of an agenda as well,
mhm,
right? And when you see the last pandemic, which a lot of us call a plan, that is part of all. So all these things, health, wars, crime itself is just
mhm,
part of an agenda as well. And
mm,
and lately you've been hearing about crime as a public health. I mean,
mm,
really now. I mean, crime as a public health. What is the hospital going to do about crime? Really, the only thing the
mhm,
hospital does is if somebody gets a shot, they go there to try something to get a dressing or save their life from a bullet. But I mean, let's really get serious about these things, right? But
mhm.
the propaganda around all these things is what they do. And because we've been so educated from the West,
Yes.
this is where many of the problem comes in. The Western education. It's really been a propaganda movement for years. And it's now that many of us are waking up to really understanding that it's just been propaganda. It's not been anything real, you know? And we've been made to believe that we could hate each other. And if we are Indian or if we are African, we should really not be one with each other. There are problems, and we should just be against each other all the time, even though we are living on a 2 by 4 place. So all these things are part of the agenda. How they can conquer and divide. The simple thing, you use a word all the
Yes.
time: conquer and divide. And so that's just part of it. So
Part of
you see
what
the
they do.
health, you see the crime, you see the wars. All these things are things they use, and these are the things that are in the forefront these days
Mhm.
of the agenda in getting us divided. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and very very well said. And we think of if I can add some of those other agenda items or efforts that they are presenting to solve these global problems, such as climate change.
Oh, that's
And you talk about the health, the poverty reduction,
hmm
and digital transformation, which you just made a video on it, economic development. They talk a lot about global security, right, and sustainable development. Now, when and there's a reason I'm reading out all of these things, and I ask you that question because I want you, in light of your definition of what the global agenda is, what are some of the efforts of this agenda in seeking to solve global problems? So what are some of the organizations which we've just listed them that are part of this global agenda? Mia Motley,
uh-huh.
I want to ask you, sir,
Yeah.
how do you see Mia Motley and her role in the Caribbean, right? And this global agenda.
But I, I, I hate to pronounce on leaders, but because I know how sometimes people can be in a nation when you talk about their leaders. So sometimes I refrain from talking about their leaders. But
Listen, you can say
um,
you can say whatever. I'll take the cussing for you. I'm
listen,
asking you, you're a journalist. I'm asking you a straight question, sir.
listen,
Well,
listen,
how do you see
listen.
Mia Motley and her role in the Caribbean and this global agenda?
Well, I tell you what. Like I said, some leaders are chosen. Um, we used to have elections back in I mean, I would say centuries ago, elections were genuine elections, really. I said now we should just choose people and put them into office who can carry out an agenda. That's just basically what is going on. Mia Motley is a very vocal woman. Brilliant woman. Nobody can take that away from her in her gift of the gab. Very brilliant in terms of that, and making a speech on the world scene towards world leaders. We would have heard her name called more than once, stating that she could be the person to lead the UN one of these days. After her time in office. So we know that she has a God spirit in her life, a bright future apparently ahead of her, based
Mm-hmm.
on the agenda, based on the global agenda. And so to me, in office, what you would find is that leaders like Muttley, like Gonzalez, others who've been there long, they seek to be, after their time in office, go on to greater things. So the agenda, that what they carry out in while they're in office, is basically setting themselves up
Mm-hmm.
to be a part of the larger system. So I
Uh-huh.
show that I can carry out the mandates of these organizations, whether they are of any benefit at all to my people, right? Because remember, the mandates from the WHO, from the WEF, from the IMF, from the BlackRock organizations, all these people with the money who fund these
Mm-hmm.
campaigns around the world. Remember, the agenda that I am carrying out is not my local agenda, it's their agenda. And the agenda is basically to get my people in alignment, right? And to get them under surveillance, because if you don't carry the narrative, you're a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So Motley is, and I've seen her, I've listened to her at CARICOM meeting at UN, and you can see that kind of spirit in her. I think what she has done over time, while she is the Prime Minister of Barbados, I can see her shifting away from her local role, even though she's Prime Minister, and taking on a more global responsibility. And that's just part of ensuring that that I am part of what you are. And I'm
Mm.
ready. I'm ready to ascend to whatever you have for me in the wings. I'm waiting for it. And I'm sure that I'm capable of doing it. So you find a lot of these leaders in the Caribbean. You can see them. They've been there. They are prime ministers. There's a local agenda, but you see them moving away and taking on a more global and regional agenda. So you
Mm.
find a lot of things in their country start drifting apart, and you see maybe the healthcare system start just dilapidated, the crime spiraling out of control, and you ask yourself, but she's a great leader. Why are all these things just happening under her watch then? Right? And that is because while she is local and while she's the prime minister of Barbados, she also has to function at a regional and a global level based on the agenda set by these organizations.
Mm. Yeah,
That is what that.
yeah, yeah, a very interesting observation. And I want to ask you this question. Do you think that is it a thing where you think she chose them or they chose her?
No,
The reason
you.
I'm asking that, hold a minute. I note that she seems to be their darling. That's how it
Yes,
appears.
yes.
I don't know. Is that how it appears to you and others in your country? That she somehow seems to be more connected with this global agenda than all the other prime ministers in in the Caribbean? Would you say that?
In no, well, in these organizations, and I am so happy that I had the chance, like I said to you, to be trained, to get training from places like the Voice of America and Washington Post, because when you sit in these organizations, you really get a sense of what these big countries are really about, and these organizations are really about. Let me tell you, you can't choose them; they have to choose you. You are you are nothing. You are nothing.
Okay.
We choose you, right? We choose you. And how do we choose you? So we look at you as a youngster, you aspire to be a lawyer, a doctor, or somebody in the public sphere who probably can command some respect. So, Marcia, here you are every
Mm,
night on a program. You're commanding great respect of the nation. You're getting a lot of people to follow your program, and people are believing in your thing, and they wouldn't call what you're doing helping the nation. They would say that's Marcia's doctrine, right? That's how they put it. That's Marcia's doctrine. And they see that people are buying into it, and they say, well, maybe we can tap into Marcia. Is a brilliant candidate, and that's how they do it. So You and I, we are here and we're genuine in what we do. But these people don't see genuine. They see someone who can be a leader and who have command of people and who can influence people. And once they see that, they said, you know what? Let's go. Let's launch this. Let's see if we can get her into politics. Let's see if we can get him into politics. Let's see if we can get him to the top of the spear. And once they get you to the top of the spear, they would simply remind you, because all these groups would come and they would fund your campaign. And they would simply remind you at the end of the day, well, you know, we had this group came and they fund you and we give you lots of money. Well, it wasn't me. These are the people who really backed your campaign. And then you realize, wait, I'm in a corner. There's no escaping now, right? And so you
Mm-hmm.
just have to go forward with the simple agenda. That's how it
Mm-hmm.
happens. Nobody, you can't get into that. They have to pull you into it.
Yeah, I mean, very captivating. What you're saying, very very deep analysis there, Mr. Cook. I wanted to look, and this is important, because you see, Miss Motley has been elevated in the region and globally as this Caribbean leader that everybody looks up to. But as you are saying, it seems like she has almost been knighted, or some people say anointed, or chosen as someone who's going to carry out the agenda of the global
Oh yeah,
elites,
yeah.
right? The global order. Now, one of the things that we notice is at the UN,
Mhm.
that whenever she speaks, she wears the UN badge, right there. We cannot find we can never find her, sir, wearing the flag of Barbados. When I see people from St. Vincent at the UN, they're wearing the St. Vincent flag. Okay, when I
Yes.
see them, when I see even Canada, even when Trudeau was there, and he's a global young leader as they
Oh yeah.
consider Miss
Oh yeah.
Martley to be, he wears the Canadian flag, not Miss Motley. That what you see there is what's called his sustainable development goals.
Correct.
That's their
Correct.
symbol. Now,
Hmm.
I want you as a journalist, you see that, if that was happening to your prime minister, if whenever your prime minister has anything official in the country, outside of the country, they wear that instead of their flag, what would be your conclusion as a journalist looking at that?
Well, clearly, you have to. These things have what they call a. Let me see how to put this. These things have what you call a an order. Well, let's just say an order, and we identify you to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am. Remember, symbols are very powerful, eh? Symbols
Mm-hmm.
are very powerful and they send messages. So all these things are coded messages. So I'm up here, I'm wearing this all the time when I'm at these kind of meetings. It's for those in the order to know, yes, I am here and I am here. I am here. I'm identifying. This is the symbol, right? So like I said, symbols are very, very powerful. It's like some people wear a ring, and the ring is part of an organization. When you see me
Mm-hmm.
with the ring, you don't have to ask a question, right? So that is what it's really going on. But I have often questioned why she wears that. I did myself. I didn't want to draw any conclusions, but it sends a powerful message that I'm on with the agenda. I'm done with the agenda, and I am willing to carry out the agenda and have it fulfilled. You must remember Barbados. Barbados has a rich history. Marcia.
Mm.
Barbados has a very rich history. It's one of the closest places to Africa. It was one of the closest places to Europe with the slave trade. You know what happened. The Lords of London's, they used to be in Barbados all the time. You know, you talk about a lot of a cultist movement. If you go back in history, you would have heard about Barbados and what used to transpire. So Barbados has a rich history in a lot of things. It's a very significant country on this
Mm-hmm.
earth, and the depend world organization depend on Barbados for a lot of things. They depend on Barbados for a lot of things. So,
Like what?
well, you know, if you look in Barbados, you may see some. I think there is an office for what you, and you can let me know. Is there a UNDP office in Barbados? A
The
UN office?
IDB, yes, IDB,
Is there a
IDB,
right? Is there a UNDP as in the UN? Is there any
yes,
UN office in Barbados?
yes,
Right,
yes, yes.
right.
Dad can correct me, but I'm almost sure of that. Yes, and
Yeah,
there is an
I do
ID.
think so.
Yeah,
Right,
there is an IDB, IADB right here as
right.
well.
And there's of course a U.S. embassy in Barbados.
Yeah. Okay.
If you look at these things, they're strategically placed in certain countries.
Mm,
So Barbados has a rich history. I think there's one in Trinidad, right? There's one in Jamaica. And there are reasons why they're in these countries. These countries are very, if you look back in history, they were subservient to the crown, which is Britain. And and if you know history, you will know that America at one point in time was also under British rule.
mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of connections and other things are happening here. But these discussions and European Union office as well, EU. So there's a lot of these things are deep discussions and they would take a lot of time to go through. And I don't think we could do it in 1 hour. It would take a
Yes.
lot of time to go through. I only have an hour. I'm so sorry, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that need expansion. And what we're doing is just touching the surface. You
Yes.
know, we if we go through, we have to go look at why the EU have an office in Barbados, why the UNDP must have an office in Barbados, why the IDB must have an office in Barbados, why the US Embassy must be in Barbados, why this. There's so many things, and if you go through all of them, people will be amazed as to why they're really there, and it's not what many of us think why they're there. And it will take all night, Marcia. It will be an all nighter. It will be a prayer meeting. It will last till the morning. And
To, to,
we don't
we
have the
don't
time
have
for
that,
that
but
tonight.
it's interesting analysis that we're doing here, and I'm going somewhere with
Yes.
this
Mhm.
discussion, Mr. Cook, because if it is that you're in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, my friends in Trinidad, those in Jamaica, all about, they're saying to me, it seems to us, just as you
Yes.
said, that Miss Motley has been chosen, and she is the one that they are going to use to bring in that agenda into the region. She is the door opener for it. My
Yeah.
question is: are we should the Caribbean
Mhm.
be concerned about this global agenda? Is there what are the should there be any concerns of Caribbean nationals? So we're seeing this thing; it's unfolding before our eyes. We're hearing terms and names of organizations that we didn't know anything about.
Yeah, we didn't know
World
anything about it.
Economic Forum, all of these things. So, should we be concerned? And if so, why?
I We have to be concerned. We have to be concerned when anything foreign. You're human. You're a human being, and if anything foreign enters your body is going to show signs. It's going to give you a headache. Your eyes either going to scratch you. You're going to sneeze. So you have to be concerned when foreign bodies enter your region. We must be concerned, utterly concerned, because they don't have our best interests at heart. And it's so sad when many of our politicians either they don't have our best interests at heart. They don't, and that is just the obvious thing. There are many people who should be in office who really have genuine concern, but they would never enter office because people would say they're pious and they're playing holy and thou and they're behaving sanctimonious. So these people will never get to office, right? So, but we have to be concerned when we hear the WEF talk and when the IMF say this, the globalists, the World Bank, the UN, whatever the agendas are, we have to be concerned. And one of the most significant agendas that have happened in the last 5 years since the pandemic is WHO
Mm,
and their grand agenda for so many lockdowns where you can rewrite all of the systems in the world to have this global what you call governance per se so that everybody will be in lockstep, right? That is where the crux of the matter is. That is something I want to talk about as well tonight. That part,
Yes, we'll go right in
because
it because we're that's where we are right now because
yeah,
we want to know, we want to understand
mhm.
why should we be concerned about the WHO? Somebody's listening and said WHO, all these conspiracy theorists again. What why should the Caribbean national be concerned about that?
Marcia, it is not. It is not. Marcia, it is not a conspiracy like people want to tell. You remember they told all of us that we were conspiracy theorists during the COVID pandemic. But we turned out to be what? Very correct. And so correct.
Mhm.
And today we have many friends who are just falling apart, maybe in their health. I mean, anybody could get sick, but these things that they pumped into their arms, you know what happened? It turbocharged every other thing that they have in their body. So look at it. I had friends, Marcia, who were reeling with, listen to this, good, had a cancer. It went into remission with health, with in terms of changing their diet.
Mhm.
No drugs, Marcia, no chemotherapy, just the diet,
Yeah.
exercise, more fresh air, more sunlight, drinking the water, getting early rest in the night. Marcia, they reversed the cancer of almost 80 years. They went into remission and they were free and going on for almost 20 something years. Perfectly healthy individual. Every exam that they did in the US to look for cancer cells, nothing could be found. You
Mhm.
hear what I'm saying to you? Up comes this whole agenda. And what happened? She was among them who got scared and said, I don't want to die. Pump that into her arm. And what happened, Marcia? In
Mm.
6 months, that cancer just roared back like a lion, Marcia. She's in her grave, 6 foot right now. You know what I'm saying to you? 6 foot. So we were conspiracy. We knew. And we didn't come out of a conspiracy because we went to bed one night and dreamt that the juice was not good. We didn't dream that. It was right on Pfizer's website. They said to you, here's the
Mhm.
list of problems from what I'm going to tell you to take.
Mhm. Mhm.
So did Johnson and Johnson. Nobody dreamt up these things overnight. They were there in black and white for all of us to see. And what is happening again? Let me go through this, and I want people to understand this, right?
Mhm.
Follow the bouncing ball here because this is very, very, what I would say, maybe alarming to other people, but it's going to happen again, whether you like it or not.
Mm.
In 2019, Marcia, the WHO carried out something called assessing and prioritizing hazard risk in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan, that's a country between Russia and China. A lot of people don't talk about it, right? They had something called assessing and prioritizing the hazard risk. That's in 2019, Marcia. And that was to support health emergency response in that country and trained along with them 20 emergency professionals from other countries as well.
Mhm.
That was for pandemic preparedness. None of us heard anything about that. I
Mhm.
never heard a single soul talk about that because you're not supposed to know about these things, Marcia. I mean,
Right.
they're on the WHO website, but who cares about WHO on their website? Who go looking for these things? Nobody does. But that was done in 2019. So all of this training was done for pandemic preparedness. Nobody heard about it. Nobody talked about it. And then what happened? We declared a pandemic in when? 11th of March, 2020.
Yes.
So the
Mhm.
WHO was fully prepared for what was to come in 2020, right? But we
Mhm.
weren't. We didn't know.
Exactly.
We didn't know. All right. So we went on and they talked about all these things. In 2024, so we were all in 2021, 22, 23, Marcia, we were locked down. We were told to wear a mask, don't go to our neighbors because COVID is Nicodemus, it travels by the night, and in the day it's fine. We were told that if we go to a restaurant, keep the mask on, but we could take it off, Marcia, when we wanted to eat, and all of our bowlers could go into one another's mouths and faces, and we wouldn't catch it. Just put it back on when you finish eating. I mean, how stupid could people be, right? Right. And then in 2024, after all this was done and all the mental health issues that came up from people just being locked down in a house, right? All the mental health issues that came up and all the other diseases and problems that we're having since then, In 2024, quietly again, the WHO and the UNDP joined forces with who again? Kyrgyzstan. It's like this country is like a melting pot for WHO, right? In a new initiative they call what? To boost pandemic preparedness and health infrastructure. And that took place in September 2024. Did you hear about that in the news? Who the hell cares about that? Nobody heard about that. That's not for you to know or I to know. Nobody need to know that. That's not your business. And so that went away quietly. And a year after that, up comes 20th May 2025, Marcia. Nations adopt this historic pledge to guard against future pandemics. Well, we heard about nations going to Geneva to discuss the pandemic treaty, didn't we? We heard
Yes.
about it. But
Yes.
guess what? Even though we heard about it, was it in the news every day and night like when we
No.
had it?
No.
It maybe came once in the newscast and that was it. Why? Because that's not your business. That's not for you to know. I mean, we discuss it among ourselves on these
Yeah.
new
Podcast. Yeah.
platforms. Yes, that's right. We discussed among ourselves. But did the government talk about it every day on their program? No. Why? Because it's not for you to know about.